very much. I know many of you are concerned about pictures, and I would remind our dear friend, I think for most people they're okay, but if you're concerned, maybe raise your hand and let Muhammad know. I will say one thing, just of course I respect everybody's situation and what the circumstances might be, but our brothers and sisters in Syria are showing more than their faces on the street for the sake of freedom. So whoever can, we shouldn't worry, and those who have real issues, we will understand also. Let us know. Yes, believe me, all of us are family, but we understand fully, and let us know, so we'll make sure that try to hide your face if it has to. Again, thank you for being here, and I wanted to maybe quickly introduce why we're here, to set the tone. I think all of us know what is happening in Syria. But as Americans, and as Syrian Americans in particular, we have witnessed with great pain the escalating brutality with which the Syrian regime has responded to the Syrian people peacefully protesting to demand freedom, justice, and dignity. After over 40 years of authoritarian and repressive rule. Unlike the lies propagated by the regime and its supporters, those protesters are not Lebanese agents, or Palestinian agents, or American agents, or Israeli agents, or any foreign agents. They're not Salafis. They're not Mundassin, foreign infiltrators. And they're not terrorists. They're true Syrian heroes. They're peaceful Muslims and Christians, Sunnis, Alawis, Druze, secular and religious, Arabs and Kurds, political and probably mostly apolitical, young and old, professionals, business people, students, even housewives. All of them came together to demand freedom, justice, and dignity for the people of Syria. The heroic Syrian uprising for freedom, as well as supporters in the U.S. among Syrian Americans, truly represent the rich diversity of Syria. Since March 15 of this year, when the first peaceful protests started, over 1,200 people have been murdered, killed, thousands wounded, and over 15,000 detained and tortured by the Syrian regime's security and military forces. According to a report that was published today by Human Rights Watch, 57 reports, it was released today, and the title of the report was, "We've never seen such horror on Syria." This is Human Rights Watch. This is not a Salafi organization. This is not a Lebanese or a Palestinian organization. They say in the report, systematic killings and torture by Syrian security forces in the city of Daraa since protests began there on March 18 strongly suggest that these qualify as crimes against humanity. For more than 2 months now, Syrian security forces have been killing and torturing their own people with complete impunity. Another respected human rights organization, Amnesty International, stated in a recent report, just a few days old, images of unarmed civilians shot in the head help explain why there have been so many fatalities. Together with footage of soldiers celebrating death, they document what appears to be a shoot-to-kill policy. These videos add to the damning collection of reasons why the UN Security Council must take decisive action and refer Syria to the International Criminal Court over its brutal crackdown against pro-reform protesters. Last week, end of the quote from Amnesty International. Last week, the whole world awakened to the horrific news of the killing of young Hamza al-Khatib. Hamza was a 13-year-old Syrian boy who joined his family in a peaceful march to break the siege by Syrian security forces on the city of Daraa. Hamza was detained along with many others. His body was later returned to his family. Here is how A Washington Post article on May 29th described the body. The boy's head was swollen, purple and disfigured. His body was a mess of welts, cigarette burns, and wounds from bullets fired to injure, not killed. His kneecaps had been smashed, his neck broken, his jaw shattered, and his penis cut off. What finally killed him was not clear, but it appeared painfully, shockingly clear that he had suffered terribly during the month he spent in Syrian custody. This is what we're dealing with, my dear brothers and sisters. In face of such barbarism, Syrian Americans from all over the US started organizing in order to support the legitimate demands of the Syrian people for freedom, justice, and dignity. We as Syrian Americans and people of conscience who care about the future of human rights and democracy in Syria have a positive role, actually a responsibility, to play in challenging the brutality of the Syrian dictatorship and supporting the legitimate rights and demands of the Syrian people. Tonight's event is a historic event. It is probably the first time that Syrian Americans are freely meeting in Southern California to organize and mobilize our efforts to support democracy and freedom in Syria. We'll be hearing from various activists, community activists well known for you, to all of us, for their many years fighting and struggling for civil rights and human rights and peace and against the war and organizing this community socially, politically. You will be hearing from them on how each one of us can play a part in the new bright future of Syria. Like the brave Syrians marching on the streets of Syria, we are committed to nonviolence, to civility, unity, diversity, freedom, justice, democracy, and dignity. With that, I will turn to invite one of the co-sponsors. There are two co-sponsoring organizations, the Syrian Emergency Task Force and the Syrian American Council. I will invite Amar to introduce the Syrian Emergency Task Force.
Then I'll mix like Syrian Americans do, they mix English and Arabic together. First of all, welcome, good evening, Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is a time that we should come together, should know each other, should connect with one another so that we can help our homeland. I was born here, I've never been to Syria, so everybody could tell me I know nothing about brutality, but I'm here to help, and I want everybody to put hands in hands together so we can help our brothers and sisters that are risking their lives as we speak. Again, just to introduce many brothers and sisters in this community and also nationwide have organized together. There are several groups. We here in Southern California, several of us, adopted two main organizations, Syrian American Council, which will be introduced shortly with all its board members. The other is a task force, which means it's only for one task. It's a temporary coalition of different people. So you may Google one of the names that may be in the DC office and you may disagree on, but one of the things we were learning as we move on is to rebuild this trust deal, is to rebuild this trust and remove the doubts and stop saying Khain, Khabarat, he's not good. Let's say I disagree, but I'll work with them. I'll disagree completely perhaps. Maybe we're on different aisles, but I will put our hands together to free Syria, to bring Syrians a hope and a future that is bright, that is free, that can think for itself, and always have trust and faith in the Syrian people. Always have trust and faith in humans everywhere in the world. So we are concerned Syrian Americans who support human rights and democracy. We are the voice of the oppressed. We don't claim to represent them, we don't claim to speak for them, but we have a voice here as Syrian Americans to voice their concerns, to be an echo, to be the reflection of their hearts and their aspirations for a bright future. You can switch the slides. We have to go back to those sad slides. So the Syrian Emergency Task Force, you can go www.syrianetf.org. It's based in Washington, D.C. And there are several, again, it's a coalition of several groups that came together specifically to work on public relations, on media relations, government relations, and so many other avenues, one of which will be discussed also today is a big lawsuit against Syrian officials here, against the Syrian government that's in the federal court. The mission statement is it's a non-profit organization based in the United States. The task force was created to support the Syrian people's democratic aspirations and to provide a venue for them to convey those aspirations to the American people. So, brief and simple, it's independent. We can do whatever we want with the name. An organization gives you a medium so we can get to come closer to one another. We can focus our strategies, and that's what we'll be doing in the next segment after introducing the SAC members, hopefully. If you have any questions, we'll have more than enough time, hopefully, at the end, at least 45 to 50 minutes. And we want to hear from everyone here. We're going to have sign-up sheets to tell us what area you're best at,